Heinz.
Oh yes. It also has a history related to Ports of Call, because at that time, as I told, I did a television series for the North German television together with Martin Ulrich, and this was broadcasted in NDR and MDR and in Bavarian television. And the Bavarian television is now the interesting part, where one of the editors say, why not making an extra computer show for telling about what was going on this NDR show, what do we present there and enhance it. And so Computertreff was founded at the same time when the NDR television series on the Rolf Dieter Klein computer. This is what's called NDR Klein computer, which we built there for education. And at the same time, we make Computertreff to show the people some details of the computer and also a little bit magazine-like. And yeah, we did this Computertreff, I think around nearly 20 years together with the VDR, which is the West German television, which from Buck and Rudolf made also a TV series on computers at that time. And so we had that Computertreff and going on exhibitions for CeBIT and so on, showing new stuff and also new computers coming up at that time. Was really very interesting time, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How many client computers do you own still today?
Oh, I have some still laying around. The one is with the 8020 processor. This was the most sophisticated. We did some other national semiconductor computer, which never came out there. And the PC variant with the 286 was the last one on the NDR client computer series, which comes out at that time. There's also some computer clubs still around, building devices around the NDR client computer with modern parts, because it's very difficult now to get the old parts that sometimes the graphic processor we used at that time is very difficult to get at the moment. But there are FPGA which you can reprogram now, everything like simulation. And so the NDR client computer still is alive. But I think in Germany there are a lot of computers still in some places from people, or even they do some new stuff with that in the retro part. Yes. And we did a flight simulator at that time. This was quite funny.
I do have a question about some covers on magazines, which disturbed me very much in my youth. It was a further youth. How in hell do somebody do? I cannot go much further with the upper one. How in okay, you know what I'm asking. Joe, tell us about covers on magazines.
Yeah. You can show the second one too, because we changed something on it. The original picture was not
more details,
and you cannot put it for sale, you know.
Do you remember a game from they were a Spanish company called Dynamic, I think. They had a game called Game Over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the cover art was a woman.
That would have fitted a PC Action magazine.
Yeah. And they had to change the graphics, or they had to put something across the woman so you couldn't see her nipple. And they were different times. And
so let's check some other covers here. We can. Okay, let's start. Women nearly naked. Sorry, it's Kane. Kane is okay. Sorry, this one is not nude, but again. Okay.
Yeah. Sex sells.
Sex sells. That's right, because once we put Schumacher on the cover, and it was a worst-selling issue ever.
It's a very not dangerous, but it's a delicate topic. Back in the 80s, I don't think I would be wrong in saying that games were predominantly male. It was a male territory. You look at all the games and it was all shooting and killing and death and blah. Now games have broadened. There are now more female protagonists in games. You look at The Last of Us 1 and 2, Tomb Raider, Horizon Zero Dawn, etc., etc., etc. And there's more female protagonists in games, but it was a male-dominated industry.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that I work with. I mean, I was a lot older than all the developers, than a lot of the coders and artists.
I don't want to interrupt you, sorry, but Ralph has to leave us. Thanks for being here, and great success with the new projects. And call us again whenever you want.
Most of you again, some of you for the first time.
Bye.
Sorry,
Ciao.
believe it or not, I have to jump into a call with the United States, so yeah, no worries for me.
All right.
A lot of people are asking how long this will last here, and we said it's open end. We stream here at the Gamescom channel till 2 o'clock, no problem, and after that we go on Twitch. You have all time we want to have, no problem.
I may return tonight or tomorrow, we'll see.
No
about
problem,
that,
but of course you can.
Pleasure.
Thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if I say something about the PC Action covers. At that time, I was working at PC Joker magazine and Amiga Joker magazine, and I think PC Action's unique selling point was actually the covers and the humor within the magazine. I mean, they had probably like the funniest readers, males section of all the German magazines, and they wrote like they did not take the whole thing too serious, you know. I mean, they did like reviews and stuff and everything, but it was funny to read, and I think maybe that's one of their unique selling points. So it was like they have girls on the covers, they have lots of humor in the magazine, whereas some other magazines, like for example GameStar or our own PC Joker, they try to always also find a unique way of approaching the readers and finding a target audience group. And some other magazines try to sell their stuff by putting a CD-ROM on the cover and putting a full game onto the CD-ROM. So you would actually need.
Well, you have to find a unique selling point, because PC Games, our sister magazine, it was a bigger one, always the bigger one, and they got always more money than PC Action, and we have to find something that they didn't have. So we tried this lifestyle thing, you know, with girls on the cover, and like FHM, this man's magazine those days. Yeah.
There's
in
another
the
question from the chat.
80s in England, we never had girls on the covers of the mags. The two biggest magazines in England were Crash and Zap, and there was one guy that painted the covers for each magazine, Oliver Frey, and he is currently painting his final cover, which is Crash number 101, and then that's it. He's finished. But they always represented a game that was being reviewed inside the magazine. And now here in the UK, Oliver will go to retro conventions and he will sell prints of his artwork, and the guys, basically it's like they've got the cover of the magazine but without all the text. They've just got the image, and you just, you know, these guys are like 40, 50, sometimes 60 years of age. And there they are, and they're like, oh man, this is my childhood. But Europe was, you see, you tend to forget, England is very Victorian. You guys are very open and free about sexuality. We're all terribly, terribly in a box here in England. So back in the 70s and 80s, sex was like, oh no, oh my God, oh, you can't do that.
But I remember the Barbarian covers.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I personally
once Pandora's box opened in England, then we went crazy. But we've been so Victorian for so long.
Yeah, I personally like the painted covers more than the girls' covers.
Yeah.
So I was really glad when we changed from girls' covers back to rendered artworks. It was much more appealing for me.
Well, do you know the magazine Edge?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I bought it from #1, and then for like maybe 5 years, and then I stopped because I just thought all it is it's a coffee table magazine.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it might as well be Good Homes and Gardens. It every time I opened it, I just thought, I don't even know what game I'm looking at. It just looked the same every single month. And I think now, to really grab the gamers, you've got to do something very, very special, especially with magazines.
A proper special. There was one thing the PC Action was famous for.
Cool.
Oh my God.
Why a cooking show on the DVD?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
It was our cooking show. We did every month. We did a new episode, and we sell 2 DVDs of it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but if you're doing something that nobody else does, then that's a win.
It was so funny. I really love it. I still love it. Yeah.
Cool.
I even tried to cook something out of these videos. They are really
it's possible.
Working. It's working.
I wanted to say something really quick because as we were talking about covers, I noticed at Richard Löwenstein's background there is actually an Amiga Joker cover which also features scantily clad, I would say, woman on it. So
exactly.
All the magazines did this back in the day, or it was not just maybe that one magazine.
No, of course not. No, but we did not take pictures of real girls or real ladies dressed into a game themed. Well, nowadays you would call it like cosplay.
I see.
It is a good decision, Richard.
It was a drawing instead of, it was a painting instead of a photo. I see.
Exactly.
We have evidence here.
Yeah. We had the Kandemiroglu brothers, and they painted pictures which sometimes had something to do with what we did in the magazine, and sometimes they were just looking nice. And there was no connection whatever to what we did in the magazine. And what you see in the background, right behind me, is I asked the team of the Amiga Joker magazine like 3 years ago if they would find it fun if we came back together and produce another like a comeback issue just for the fun of it, and also because there was a big Amiga community event called Amiga 32 in Germany in September 2017, I think, or maybe October, something like that. And together with the guys who organized the event, we thought, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have a magazine, a new Amiga Joker magazine? Amiga Joker, by the way, who does not know, was the best-selling Amiga games-related magazine in Germany by the time. And some of the ex-members said, okay, why not write some reviews or do anything which the community might like. And that's how we decided to kind of relaunch Amiga Joker for one issue, and released it in October 2017. And it was such a big success that we decided to do the same thing again in the end of 2019, and that's how we. And actually, this cover, which you can see here, it shows an almost kind of naked lady, only because this was the only artwork which Organ Kandemiroglu had not used by now, because he doesn't paint anymore. And I still wanted to have a real Kandemiroglu cover on the Amiga Joker, because that's what our readers really liked. Yeah, they wanted a Kandemiroglu cover. And Organ only had one painting left, which was not used on the Joker magazine. And it has this lady on the front. And I had put lots of hours into thinking if this was possible in the year 2019 to release such a cover, because it's so 1991. Almost not possible anymore to release something like that, but we did it. And
right,
yeah.
What should I do?
Here in the UK, I think it was 2 years ago. A friend of mine, like I said, back in the 80s, the big magazines were Crash and Zap, Spectrum and Commodore 64, and they are back. They are back.
Really?
Oh yeah. Not every month, but I think every quarter.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And my friend Chris Wilkins, he does a Kickstarter, and his latest Kickstarter got, I think it was 500,000.
For what?
For printing.
Really? 500,000?
Yeah.
Richard, the thinking.
Because
money.
No, this is it, Richard. The fans
for interrupting.
The fan base is still there.
Bernhard wants to leave us, and thanks a lot for joining us. And yeah, till tomorrow, I would say.
Yeah, thank you for. Nice to talk to you. Have a night. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
And sorry, there's one question from the chat. Then we can talk again about the newspapers.
Okay.
Because one person in the chat did not understand something with, again, ports of call.
Okay.
Just one second. I have to find the correct thing. Here it is. Some versions of ports of call had a life-size sound enhancer. What exactly did it do? Is someone asking?
Okay, this is great, because I just found the page with a life-size adapter here in the book. It's a small device which you can plug into the PC at the parallel port to get a sound output. We did develop this at the time. Amiga had sound. This was one of the greatest features, but the PCs still needed some sound cards. Sound was not built into the PCs at that time. So we decided to build our own very simple sound adapter. Let me see whether I can make a little bit larger schematic here. This is the schematic. The whole schematic consists of an R2R resistor networks, wholly passive. There's no transistor, nothing inside. And this can be connected to the parallel port of the PC. And then you get the sound output of all sound files of ports of call. This was called the life-size adapter. Did some assembly language here for the PC to implement that sound, which was sampled, I think, with 8 kilohertz sampled, but the sound has only bandwidth of 4 kilohertz. So that was some nice feature. And then we get our own sound device bundled into the package, so the people get this sound adapter together with the ports of call when they got the PC version of ports of call.
But the sound quality was not on Amiga level.
No, of course not. The Amiga level was much higher, of course, because there was a hardware-built sound device. But for the game, of course, we had some more sound and a little bit instruments and so on. It was very simple. We don't have a music or anything like that in the ports of call. Crash sounds for the ship when you crash to the wall and so on. And so this was sufficient at that time. Yeah.
And how expensive was it, this expander?
It was bundled together with the software. I don't know what the value of the software was in German, 20 D-Mark, 30 D-Mark, something like that. Just like the other games, it was some dollars only. It's very, very simple device because only some resistors inside a small printed circuit board, and that was not that expensive.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you design that adapter?
Yeah, I did design it. Yes. Because it's a simple DA converter. Yeah.
Yeah, because we see a lot of oscilloscope stuff and technique behind you. So I was
that's right. If I switch here over, there's a lot of technical stuff here. I did a lot of.
Looks like you got a flux compensator somewhere hidden.
Yeah, well, this is on the other side.
Oh my god.
Is this your laboratory or is it your living room?
Yeah, it's a more living room than laboratories sometimes. Yeah, both. And I'm doing a lot of high frequency stuff. Currently, also working as a consultant for the Luft- and Raumfahrttechnik. Having now 2 CubeSats in orbit. Two of my PCB boards are traveling around the Earth at the moment. It's some transmitters and receivers. So I'm doing
this is for the new GPS, the European version of GPS. Is that it?
No, it's a research project. Yes, okay. Research project for grabbing data or measurement of solar. So it's a student project. The students have to learn how satellites are working. The CubeSats are very small satellites, like this, 10 times 10 times 10, and they can build some small stuff inside, some measurement devices and so on.
Ooh.
Amazing, thanks.
Yes, I also was totally fascinated from your background, all those stuff. It's unbelievable. And how long did it take to collect all those or to buy these things? It's really overwhelming for me.
My whole life, yes.
Yeah.
Starting, my father had an electronic company, so I started, let's say, at around 4. It was helpful. He built oscilloscopes at that time. It's a very long time ago. And yeah, so you work with that. That's the electronic background always combined with software. And at early times with processors, like they come in the first machines before the 68000 times or 80 times or Z80 or 8080. It was the first processors I worked with. You have to do a lot of machine coding there at the time, doing your own assembly. Yeah.
I have another game if you want to talk a bit about Schleichfahrt.
Okay.
If you mind.
I think it was an early 3DFX game, wasn't it?
You want me to give you a rundown? It's
just a short one.
Yeah. I think it was absolute state of the art at the time. It wasn't developed in-house. It was an external team. And probably towards, I don't know, 96, 97, you can look on the box. I'm kind of fuzzy on the details there. But the software 3D engine was just unbelievable, and everything is underwater, so you can cheat a little bit with distance and the level of detail and things like that, but you don't know
a name. The engine had a name, hadn't it? You don't remember? It was a funny name. I don't remember. Perhaps someone in the audience know the name from the engine. It had such a curious name. I don't remember. I had a look.
It was its own thing. They made other games based on the engine later on, but it was it was fast too. And with the way they with the being underwater. I mean, it just looked, if you would, get into a dark room and, turn the speakers up and just dim the lights down, and you would play the game. I mean, it was claustrophobic. It was really good for its time. I mean, it's, we were talking about going from text adventures to simple, 8x8 pixel graphics to 3D graphics. There still wasn't enough detail in Archimedean Dynasty or Schleichfahrt that your brain wouldn't take over, fill in some of the gaps. You still had to fill in some of the gaps. And sound and music also makes a huge difference. Play it without sound and music, it's boring. So the Massive, I think, was the developer, and I think we started working with them. Also, they had a vertical slice, and it was just we did a lot of work. We did a lot of PR and marketing at the time. We actually converted the entire basement of our office building into a submarine kind of environment. So we would bring in journalists, and then we would take them through the elevator directly straight into the basement. And I have a jumpsuit somewhere here with the Archimedean Dynasty or Schleichfahrt logo on the back, and everybody had to wear these suits, and we would take them around and we would show them, the game on some of the workstations. Unfortunately, it didn't really reflect in the sales after all. And I think that was mostly due because the big guys were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Smaller guys were disappearing, and the middle field was kind of struggling, where I would probably count us into the middle field. So unfortunately, it didn't really do that well. It didn't do bad, but it could have done, I think, a lot better in retail.
But look at this votings. It was full of gold, super, perfect, gold player.
And that made it even more.
Here. Look, there's even a Joker on it.
I'm just reading the review we did because I didn't remember the details.
Yeah, it's a PC Action logo on it. I see it.
PC Action Gold.
The box was designed in the States, the 3-dimensional box. I mean, we put everything into it. It was embossed. It was 3D. I mean, everything we could possibly do to make it a standout, haptic experience.
A cool map in it, I think.
Astonished. Steve Jobs would say gorgeous artwork, but I don't know what went wrong. I mean, it was really getting difficult to get into retail. I think this must have been around the time when I bought my first $10,000 T-shirt and mug at the CompUSA national convention. You pay $10,000 to go to the retail convention. They give you a mug, they give you a T-shirt, and then you may be able to talk to their salespeople. And we were just, everybody in the industry was just spending. And if you got lucky, you would make your money back. But I think eventually, we barely broke even on the game, which was really a shame.
A shame, of course. And then they moved over and they made the Equinox as
yeah.
And I think even the second part of Equinox 2, which was not so well, but
best shooter.
Really, but the man who made the music is not here right now, so I have it for later days, for tomorrow. Yeah.
I think this game, this Schleichfahrt game, I played this too, and I remember it was kind of, you could describe it a bit as like an Elite, but instead of space, you were underwater. I think you said something similar. And I think also the graphics on PC were so impressive. I mean, I had an old Cyrix PC back then with like 130 megahertz or so, and it went perfectly smooth, unbelievable. No 3D graphics card required, just software rendering. It was really an amazing piece of work.
There was a patch for 3DFX, and it looked incredible with it.
But even without it was even with software rendering, it was absolutely stunning. I think it's funny, personally. I think it's funny how these titles were translated, because Schleichfahrt is such a cool title, and Archimedean Dynasty is okay. It's not bad, but
I usually hear it the other way around, that the name Schleichfahrt sucks.
Oh no, I think the opposite.
And
and Siedler also, was not the settlers, but was serfs. Very strange.
Schleichfahrt is actually something that I came up with. because we were getting close to the deadline and we had to have a title. And I don't think the development team liked it very much. But I wanted, I don't know, something mysterious in there. I wanted something German in there. Yeah. I don't know, we can have a long discussion about how we're treating our language. And, you know, that we're slowly but basically forgetting all about German and, you know, putting English words in where we used to put German words. So I wanted something German for the German-speaking territories. And I think the name Archimedean Dynasty, that suggestion came out of the UK. Overly complicated a little bit, you know, Archimedean Dynasty. Okay, yeah, well, you know, again, you need to have a little bit of education, you know, to know the Archimedean principle. You know, you put a body or a mass into water, a volume, then it pushes the water out. So it's like, okay, but you know, at some point in time, you have to rely on the advisors, the people that tell you this is what we need to do. You can't make all the decisions yourself. So I don't know.
It's much better than Divine Divinity.
What?
You mean the game Divine Divinity? It sounds awkward at first, yeah, but honestly, personally, I don't think that name is so bad, because once you hear it, you'll never forget it. But yeah, it's a matter of taste, I guess.
I have another game. Sorry. Then we have one of, I think, your last games of Blue Bytes. This one, Extreme Assault. It was an Extreme Assault, sometimes on the speed, but it's a cool game. I think it was. I see some. I see a Joker again. No, did I see a Joker? Yeah, I see a Joker. The Joker has changed. The Joker is now in the middle of the eye.
That was my review. I loved the game.
Yeah, it started off as a simulation. I've always been a huge flight simulation fan, and we were planning, or I was planning on making a helicopter flight simulation. You know, search and rescue, that sort of stuff. Nothing military. And I remember going to one of the ADAC, the AAA locations where they have one of their yellow helicopters, and we visited with a team. But in the end, it was just, we realized if we really want to make this a simulation, a good simulation, we just won't have the capital to really do this. So we used the technology to turn it into an action game. And again, the marketing team, PR team, they did a great job. They were really behind it, and it did okay. It did okay. I mean, our own in-house engine. And today you use Unity and Unreal Engine and I don't know what have you. Back in the day, you had to write your own engine from scratch, so that you had some control over it, but it wasn't cheap because you had to have one or two people on your staff that would do exclusively 3D engine stuff. Now
Robin?
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of the best game in this from Thomas? Of Incubation. I love this game so much.
I may have a look. Just give me a second.
Yes.
Yeah, and from the chat.
While he does that, if I'm part of a group that's developing a C64/Mega 65 C65/Mega 65 computer in FPGA, and they would kill me if I don't mention the game, and it fits right into the topic here. It's a retro computer. It's the C65 that in 1992 was supposed to replace the Commodore 64, but Commodore went bankrupt before they could deliver the machine. There are some original machines out there. They are between 25 and 30,000 euros per machine. And these guys, Mega 65 people, they decided 5, 6, 7 years ago to basically redo the whole thing in FPGA, and they asked me to help them out a little bit. And this is it. So this is one you need for your collection there, my friends, when it's done. This is a prototype. It's machine number 19. And it's basically C64. It's a C65. And the Mega 65, it's more like an Amiga, really. But it has floppy disk drive. It has a keyboard with click. It has Ethernet. It has HDMI. It has a user port. You name it. This thing is going to rock. And so I really wanted to plug this. Sorry for that, but I think it's something that you're probably gonna be interested in the future when the first machines come out, probably sometime next year or so. Mm-hmm. It's all open source. It's all volunteer. There's no company behind it. There's no money in it for me or for anybody else. So I'm just presenting this to you. And if you want to check out more, then go to the mega65.org, I think it is, website, and it tells you more about it. So, but this thing is amazing. I had it hooked up to a monitor, and it's just great. You turn it on, basic prompt, and you can start programming immediately. And I think that's another thing about the retro computing. And I really want my son to kind of get into this, so that he knows what the basics are. How where do you start with a computer? Do you start with Microsoft.NET 3.5 or with BASIC, right? So I think not just the Mega 65, but the Spectrum Plus and all the other machines. It's great that they're out there because they take us back to the 80s, mostly to the 80s, where you could just turn the bloody thing on. You had a manual. You could type in some lines of code, and you had a game. So and that's what's missing today a little bit, I think.
Thomas, did you try to code something for this machine already?
Not yet. I'm working on a new game, right? and I'm trying to prototype it. And I'm running into walls. I'm running into, I'm looking at Unreal Engine. I'm looking at Unity. I'm looking at Godot. I'm looking at the Yo-Yo Game Maker. And I'm thinking, if I could write that prototype on this Mega 65 faster than all the other development environments out there, because I have to learn all the idiosyncrasies of, Unity and Unreal Engine and all the ballast. And then it spits out a, 200 megabyte file. I'm pretty sure that I could write a prototype on this thing. To answer your question directly, no, I have not. I'm waiting for them to tell me how to tie it into Visual Studio Code. But you can use cross assemblers. There's an emulator out there right now that you can program. So I hope to get some time to, it's, like I said, it's and there's, well, there may be an Amiga core in development as well, so rumors.
Okay. So do you know, is it like capable of the things that the original C65 would have been able to do, or are there some enhancements in there which make it go faster, have more sprites, stuff like that?
So I think when it first boots and you don't hold down any control, alt keys, whatever, it goes into the Mega 65 mode. I don't know. It may change. You can then go into the C64 mode. You can run games 100%. You can hook up a floppy, a 1541, right? I think it was. You can hook up original mouse. You can hook up joysticks. I had to make my own joystick because you can't get these things anymore with a 9-pin, right? So, but that's the fun part of it.
Sorry, one first interruption. Richard, your handy is zittering all the time. It would be great to put it some centimeters away from something, because your picture is flickering. And that's what I mean. And we had to say goodbye to Mr. Klein. We see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot for joining us. It was a great pleasure for us. Thanks again.
Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Morgen in Deutsch.
Yeah, tomorrow then. Or today.
Ich habe noch das geforderte sorry, I'm totally German now. I found the right version. This one is the incubation in the Battle Isle Phase 4.
Yes.
It was an incredible game. I liked it more than XCOM.
one of the easiest projects I had the privilege to produce in-house, because the programmer who approached me, an in-house guy, and that usually doesn't happen, basically came to me with the idea to use Battle Island to do a turn-based, a tactical game like XCOM. And he gave me a complete presentation, and I'm like, wow, this never happens, right? People always complain that they can't work on the projects they want to work on, but when you ask him, it's like, well, I don't really know. So this guy, he did that, and pretty much 12 months later, or maybe 15 months later, there was a game, and it was just immensely enjoyable to play. I thought it fit into the Battle Isle universe, and I didn't want to start from scratch. I wanted to use the franchise. I wanted to use the popularity of the name, which in hindsight, may have been a problem down the road. But it's one of our better games. There were clearly, good gameplay, deep gameplay, good replayability, decent graphics, and it was pretty good. It was awesome.
I think there's something to be said about coding for these machines. That's also what I like about Richard Löwenstein's games, because you don't have to play them on an Amiga. Because of all the emulators we have, once a game like this is released and you can buy it and download it, I bought it as the download version, and now I can play it on all my machines because there's Amiga emulators for all of them. So in some sense, by coding for the old machine, you're making it available for a whole range of machines. I have Amiga emulators on everything, so that is really something to think about, right? So that's really nice.
The nice thing about it is that some people have even tried to run reshooter on the PSP, and it seems like the PSP is not capable of running an emulator, running reshooter fast enough to make it work with the 50 hertz frame rate that the game usually tries to run in. And so you have to switch away some parallax layers or stuff like that. So that's quite amazing that an Amiga can do more than a PSP.
So I am actually involved in the Amiga emulator homebrew for the Vita, and even the Vita is a little bit too slow to run it in full 50 FPS. Okay. But the Nintendo Switch has plenty of power for it. So the homebrew emulator, the Amiga emulator on the Switch, it does run it just fine. In principle, if I were you, I would. This is of course your decision, but you could, in principle, release it on something like the Switch if you can bundle it with an emulator in some way, right? So
do it, Richard.
That would be so cool.
I would love to do that. The problem is that there are some copyright issues with the Kickstart operating system, and that makes it really hard to bundle something with an Amiga emulator officially.
Yeah.
I know there's a workaround like the Aros OS, which is, I'm not sure about the copyright issues involved with that, and I'm also not sure if Nintendo would like to see an emulation running an Amiga game on the Switch console. But I love the idea. If there was an expert who can consult me with stuff like that, who can tell me, okay, this is the way it works to make this game run on the Switch officially and legally, and also maybe release it on officially, then I would be happy to do that. Also to enhance the game, to make use of some of the Switch's features. But right now, I love the idea. I love the Switch console, but I have no idea how to really do it.
I wouldn't know either, because I'm only involved in these homebrew projects, and of course it's all requiring like modified consoles and things. But also, other machines too. Raspberry Pi, for example, if you buy it, you can probably run it on the emulator on a Raspberry Pi right now. So I think my main point was just, if you code games for the old machines, you're making them basically widely available, as long as you give people the option to download it as a ROM file or disk file, and not just physical.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you one quick question, because I bought Reshoot R and I played through it, and I love playing through it because it is quite playable. It's not impossible. Yes, I finished it a week ago, so
a
few weeks ago. I played it seriously on an Mr. FPGA, basically Minimic Amiga core, and without the lag and everything, it was quite doable.
Sorry.
And then
Arne,
I was
sorry.
Yes.
Arne, I have to interrupt you. We played every Thursday, and nearly
You played all the time.
Nearly nobody plays through the game. We have one visitor who played it played
Yes.
2 times through the whole game, and then I never got the chance to see more than level 2. And you played it one evening, Arne, and told me it's an easy game.
I played through it on my
too.
second try. Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yes, I did. But
man. Okay.
maybe it was luck. I don't know. I should try again because maybe it was luck.
You should playtest my next game.
But anyways, what I wanted to say is what happened is after I played through it, I got the online code, and I'm on number 45 or so on your high score list online, which I think is a brilliant idea to make a game for an old machine, but still have this modern functionality of comparing scores like that. But I wonder, do you remove the cheaters on that? I mean, is it really true that I'm place 45, or maybe there are some cheaters that have impossible scores on there? Do you know?
And I do know there are some impossible scores on the high score table, but I'm not really sure how to cope with that, because I know that if I delete 1 or 2 scores manually, then I get heavy backfire from the community, or it could happen at least, and it's very difficult.
You could
I would say that if you happen to play through the game on your second go, which I can hardly believe, but if you say it, then you must consider yourself to be one of the top 10 best shoot 'em up players on the Amiga ever. So that's that's kind of official. So let me tell you this.
I don't think the game is so hard.
Well, Arne, I'm sorry, Arne. Once again, every Thursday when we play on our stream, the game, if there is an action game, you played it through, you play it very well, you are one of the best players we ever saw in our streams. That's really the truth.
But let me tell you this, I'm learning, and again, with Rejuta, I learned 2 things. First of all, I learned that if I again implement the idea of printing a code on screen, which the player can then type into a website in order to get onto the high score table, a global high score ranking. And I will do this again. Actually, the high score rankings website already works for Reshoot Proxima, but I'm using a different kind of code this time, which is, I'd be surprised if someone really can gets to know how the code works, and should really disable any kind of cheating this time. Also, there will be 2 difficulty settings this time, and that should make life much harder for you.
That's excellent too.
Yeah, the thing is that with Reshoot, it was probably too easy for the real expert players to dodge the bullets, because they always tended to target the player's position at the time, whereas in the new Proxima game, the higher difficulty setting does not target the position of the ship at the current time, but in the future. So it tries to learn where you move, and then shoots at the position which you are probably having in like 10 or 20 frames, and that should make life much harder for you, because the screen, the place where you want to move your ship to will already be occupied with bullets, and that's kind of a totally new challenge for you. I hope that's the plan. We will see if it works out.
I think I will love it. I mean, I should also mention that the game starts to give you continues after level 2 or so, and I used plenty of those continues.
Okay.
So in that sense, I didn't play through in a single go. But after level 3, when I died at the boss, it would give me a continue to start back, and I think I had 2 or 3 of those. So I think you made the game quite fair.
Yeah. Did you like the idea of getting continues after stage 2?
I think I really liked it. Although it caused me to not play the first level so much, right? Because once I finished it and the second one, then I could just continue. But in general, I like it. I think it was very fair. It was made in a more fair way than some of the older games,
Yeah, and that's
I don't like the idea that you can put your name in the high score table if you have used continues.
But the continues reset the score, so I think that's why I'm so low.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you continue on level 4, I don't think you get more score. It resets your score either to 0 or to the previous value. I think it resets it to 0. So
I think it's 0.
It is
if the
fair.
user continued, the score is 0, and that's why probably not that high. If you play through
in a single go, I think maybe
it could be much higher. Yeah.
I think I think that's really done in a fair way. I love it. I'm not a fan of cheating. I hate using trainers or cheats because then everything becomes too easy and you're not really beating it, right? Even save states is something I don't like. So in our video Stammtisch in the podcast, we always have these discussions. Some people use save states, some people use cheats, and I like to stay away from that. And I found your game especially fair. I think it was really fun.
Yeah,
that's really good to know. Thank you.
I have to say, Arne is some kind of monster. He's very, very good at learning things. So he plays reshoot R, learned the formations of the enemies, and with a second go, he remembers all of them. It's really unbelievable, and he's one of the few players who really do not cheat in any game at all. He's trying to learn it, but there's one thing that Arne hates, and these are mazes.
But that's more about adventure games, when there's mazes in the game.
Well, I can put in mazes too. Why not?
No, please don't put mazes in your shoot 'em up game. That would be terrible.
Only Geschwurbel of Oliver would do it. That's the best part.
Yes, for me, Reshoot R was a really hard game to finish, and I had to use the save states. Thank you again, Richard, for your comment under my long play on YouTube. The one you commented is one of my long plays from Reshoot R, but I had to use save states to complete it. But I have to say the fifth level, was easier than some of the levels before. I don't know why. I was somehow irritated with these parallax effects, so these 3D scrollers, these line scroller, forcing into the background, hiding your spaceship and your bullets. That was some kind of hard, but I found it easier to complete the last level than the levels before.
I think it's a matter of taste. In fact, you're right. I decided to, in order to have a good, cool video effect, I wanted to have some stuff going on in the foreground, and that means that you sometimes, for a number of 2 or 3 frames, you cannot see the player ship, and that means some people like the idea, some people rather hate it, but I think it looks cool anyway. But I decided, because it's such a difficult decision to keep that video effect, but still to keep the game feel fair and fresh, I needed to lower the difficulty level. Also, there are some mazes in the 5th level, in the 5th stage, and I also thought this is a very new element in this game, and I cannot make the stage too hard, because it would be too off-putting dying in the 5th stage because of the video priority stuff that is going on, also because of the new element of some kind of maze-like things, and that's why I decided not to make it too hard. And also, I think there's no reason to make the last level the hardest and hardest. I think I do know that Nintendo does it all the time. I don't know how many times I died in Super Metroid at the last boss fight, but with my game, I decided it would be nice to really get kind of reward for the fight you already have made, and and also I don't think that the boss fights were too easy, right? Or were they?
There were a lot of bullets in the boss fights that you really have to dodge carefully. And I remember you did something also very interesting. In one of the boss fights, you put some kind of object in the foreground, which during the boss fights hides some of the bullets. So the player has to remember the bullet paths a little bit, because it will be hidden by this foreground object. I thought that was a very good idea and very original idea, really. So I find it always interesting to look in games for new original ideas, and I think that was one of them.
I'm glad you like it. Thank you for the kind words.
Yes, and
thank you for being here.
There's one boss fight. There's one boss fight you have to know that you stop shooting. I'm using autofire to play through Reshoot R, but with one boss, I remember, I don't know the exact level, I believe it's level 3 or so. If you repeatedly shoot and do not stop to shoot at the boss, you are getting killed by many bullets. But if you stop shooting at him at specific times, he stops shooting at you.
Must be a bug.
Okay.
I think.
Interesting.
Richard, one last question. Will there be a bundle with all 3 reshoot games?
I'm thinking about it actually. Yes, but probably not at the time that Proxima 3 is released, probably a bit later. I'm thinking about that because the first reshoot game tends to get slapped for a number of reasons, because there are 1 or 2 bugs in it and because it's too hard really. And I'm thinking about redoing the first game with the existing graphics, maybe a new music, because the first reshoot game has like a SID-like chiptune audio, which I personally love it, but I do know that many Amiga gamers don't like it. So maybe I'd replace it with a more Amiga-like thing, and such a bundle could happen. But if it happens, it will be a modified reshoot version, and and probably 1 or 2 bugs which are still in reshoot will be killed, and then Proxima 3. But that, we're talking about 2024 or something, so that's a long. Also, I'm thinking about Mega Drive conversions because I do love the Mega Drive console too, and I think that reshoot and also maybe Proxima 3. But reshoot at least would really, I think they should be well playable on the Mega Drive console too.
So I'm now intervening. It's too long. You talk too much about reshooter. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
It's impossible.
I was asked.
All the fans are hanging around.
It was my fault.
Let's talk about again being a publisher. Thomas, we have this type of software here, and I was so proud having a version which is still in foil, totally new. I'm pretty sure that the guy who bought it has read some tests about it, and perhaps might have been not so interesting in open it.
Yeah, I have about 20,000 of those in my garage. So if you want one, just let me know.
The story would be interesting. I'm still looking for the F13P.
I don't brag about our successes, and what I can tell you, and our failures. I admit our failures are my failures. The story behind this it's not a game, all right. It's hyper casual, and we went completely outside of our customer profile with this game, and it was initiated by the American company, by the Incorporated here in Austin. They wanted to do something hyper casual. There were all sorts of games. This was 1999. I just looked it up, and they were selling like hotcakes. Easy, I don't know, 6 weeks development time, maybe 3 months at tops, and priced accordingly. You sell these things. I think we had a mouse mat. I don't know if that was part of the bundle or something, but it's basically a screensaver, a puzzle game, and that was it, right? Probably under a different label, it would have been okay, but it didn't work. Certainly didn't work under the Blue Byte label. So the name obviously pulls, at least here in the United States, and we weren't really surprised that it didn't do well in Europe, but we really hoped that it would do well for us here in the States. Unfortunately, Mr. King had an accident in June of 1999 where he was incapacitated for months.
He was driven over by a drunk woman, I think. Something while having a walk.
Right. And I just read up on the article, Wikipedia, thank you. So at any rate, we got a message from his either attorney or wife, or I don't know, that he can't fulfill his contractual obligations. I don't know if he was supposed to be at a trade show or something, but we had basically developed the game. We had a contract with him, but there were some obligations that he just couldn't fulfill, and that killed it for us here in the US. The reason why it didn't do well in the rest of the world is it was probably, well, poorly communicated what it was. It wasn't the game at all. It was a screensaver, and I don't even know if there's any game in there or if it's just a bunch of background pictures and screensavers. And that it was published under Blue Byte. You know, people were expecting Battle Island, Settlers, and you know, those kind of things.
I remember the box and got totally excited to see a new Blue Byte game, and it says story, Stephen King mini story, mini games. Try with no bathing allowed. Totengräber, Stilvoll, and built. Yeah, it's more like a mini game within a very big box.
Like I said, we weren't the only one making these kind of products. There were a ton of them out there. They would only. I mean, if you put, you know, the Disney label on it, everything sells. And Stephen King's label, I think it would have sold as well, but we just couldn't get the PR going because of his accident. So at any rate, it wasn't a good decision to get into it. Like I said, under a different label, I think it may have worked, but the worst part of it was that it distracted us from other things, which we should have focused on. Right, but these are the things you learn over time. We got distracted with a lot of things, you know, different kind of games, and we did we started doing Dragon's Lair, basically a revive of the Dragon's Lair arcade machine. We didn't finish it because Ubisoft bought me out, or I sold to Ubisoft before that could happen. That may have been another distraction. I don't know. But the American market was just so different that you had to almost have a second set of product portfolios separate product portfolio for North America. And like I said, the worst thing of all of these things that we tried there were the distraction they gave us. What else are you digging up now?
No, I had a look to see the incubation mission, but I didn't find it, so I just leave you alone because I was very. I did not like it seeing that Blue Byte is losing its own private life and moving over to Ubi, which has done so much bad games in the years before. So I was not crying, but it was not good.
Kurzer short break. In our chat, there were questions to Joe. He wants to leave in some minutes. Please ask him the question if you want. Who was it? Michael.
Yes. You seem quite unhappy with the Turrican news from yesterday. I just read on Twitter.
Yeah, I was unhappy with the opening nightlife, that the Turrican trailer was so short. And then I was unhappy that the Turrican compilation was so expensive.
Did you buy a copy?
I did, of course.
Yes, which one?
The Ultra one.
The €200.
I know, and I don't like it that it is €200.
For the PlayStation or the Switch?
Switch.
Switch. Okay, I bought the PlayStation version.
Really? Yeah, I love the idea of playing it mobile. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of Turrican, and so I have to pay it. But
sure.
It could be less, and I don't need this figurine. But okay.
And it will keep the value, for sure.
Yeah, I hope the box is not too big. I don't like too big collector's editions.
By the way, look what I have here.
Yeah.
30 years old.
I got it too. The Silsbeck, the middle one, Shades.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I bought it at the Amiga convention in Cologne.
Yeah.
92?
92 or 91, I don't remember exactly.
I think we all were on this Amiga convention and
Yes.
there.
Yeah,
But we didn't know each other.
I remember I stand in front of a big wall where every cracker has put his tag on, and some dude came over to me and asked me, well, "Who are you?" And I said, "Nobody, lamer." Okay, I'm a lamer. Now I know. Yeah.
Is that even still a word today?
Lamer?
I don't think
I think
that
it is a
anybody-
word.
Do kids still understand that?
No.
No.
You should.
Today
you
everybody's
shouldn't
a
use it.
lamer.
No, I don't think it's a nice word to use. It's not just an insult. It is also, how is it called? I forgot. It's just not not a nice word. If you think about what it means, right? Lame and lamer. It's ableist, basically. It's an ableist word, so I don't think it's used commonly anymore. But back then, there was the elite and the lamers.
Yeah, I wasn't in a group, so I'm a lamer. So, well, but Michael, thanks a lot for showing me this old cooking DVDs of mine.
I still love them.
appreciate it.
I
I
still
appreciate it.
put them in the DVD player and watch them. They're quite funny.
Have you found the Easter eggs?
Some of them, I guess.
Yeah, there's even there's a game included on the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of.
I know what
Lunar
I'm
lander.
watching tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, so thanks a lot, everybody. I have to leave because tomorrow morning I will join Frank for Return TV. So I have to sleep now.
Thanks again. If you want, you can join us tomorrow evening too. We are still online tomorrow at 10 p.m. Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I found another one. If you like to talk about GameNet and Edge, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's the second iteration. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, this is the new one, I think.
That's the third iteration then.
Yeah, that's not Great Courts 1, it's not Great Courts 2.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is,
great. So, yeah, well, in Germany, I think it was called Great Courts 1, 2, and it was called Jimmy Connor's Pro Tennis
Jimmy Connor's
Tour.
Pro Tennis, yeah.
Ubisoft was able, that was at one time where they really got behind the product with the tennis game, and they did a really great job. And that's the thing with publishers. You give them your catalog, and they like one title in particular. They really get behind it, but then everything else falls behind. And we didn't like that. But with the tennis game, they did a tremendous job. And so the original was developed by Lothar, and the second one I think as well. And then we did a third one. And we had pretty big plans with that, including online play and rankings and things like that. We were running behind with the technology, the back end. I had a team here in Austin that was working on the back end, and so this was all going to be part of the Blue Byte game channel, which we never really, we didn't have time to really build this up into what I wanted it to be, because Ubisoft bought us out first. But that was an awesome game, and in a way, it was a no-brainer to bring it back, and with better graphics, and I think it did pretty good actually. It was not developed in-house. I think it was an external team somewhere in Bochum.
So I found this one.
Yeah, that's the original, right?
Yeah, and you got your Blue Byte under the Great Courts logo.
Yes, and that was all we were getting. We wouldn't they wouldn't put our logo on it. And as these things go, you basically have to negotiate for every millimeter, for every inch, and we want our logo on the front. We want our name on the front. We want these credits. It's just, you basically have to, it's like pulling teeth, right?
Yeah.
The publisher will not give you anything, any recognition if they don't have to. At least back in those days, that was the case. And we just said, no, but we want our logo on it. So with the next version, there was our logo on the box, and excuse me. So
not even one name on it. It's just your Blue Byte name on it. It's no name, no programmers, no team, nothing.
Well, I don't know. This was also part of our interview, I think, from last month or so. It's the the fact that the personality cult, the brand name, turning people into brands. In America, it's they do it from kindergarten. They teach kids how to present themselves, and it's not a German thing where it's called Lothar Schmidt's Great Chords, which it should have been, because here it's called Sid Meier's Civilization. And even with Civilization 5 and 6, it's still Sid Meier's Civilization, although he didn't touch any of these games. And it sells if you have a name in connection, with a product, like maybe forget his first name now, Klein, with his computers and everything. You recognize that down the road, and we never did that. And it would be interesting to actually see the manual. It's probably very bare, and we never even did. I don't think we even mentioned the function of a producer. I wasn't. The last game I programmed was probably Tom and the Ghost or something. And then I continued working on tools and this and that. But, I was producing all the games. But I don't know, it's sometime half through the 90s, it's like, okay, maybe we should put my name in there in the credits. And I think that's symptomatic for the German, I don't know, psyche. We don't really want to be. Oh no, I don't want to step into the limelight, and I don't like that either. But I think it's a mistake. So a little bit of personality cult can't hurt. Look at Chris Hülsbeck. I mean, Chris is great at presenting himself, and he's still relevant today. Yeah. Everybody knows Chris Hülsbeck. But who knows, Armin Gessert and Manfred Trenz, and very private people, but they contributed a lot of things, important things to the growth of the industry back then. So a little bit more, sit upright, and hey, I did this, Nobody can take that away from me.
Thomas, I just checked mobigames.com, and you're mentioned as a producer in 20 games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't checked that, but okay.
Just so you know. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think we could do a lot more with personality, at least, especially in Germany. I think it's not. I mean, a good example was the video trailer yesterday for Turrican. They mentioned like Chris Hülsbeck, but they did not mention Manfred Trenz, as far as I remember. Mm-hmm. And I mean, of course, Chris' music was very important for the game, but it's still a good game. And it would have been equally important to mention Manfred Trenz and probably some other guys involved with the project, and also show this Commodore 64 version, which was the original. And not only the Super Nintendo version, which is great. It's great. Frank Matzke did a great job on the graphics, but I think it wasn't not mentioned either. And I mean, a guy like Frank Matzke, for example, who really did pixels for some beautiful games like Apedia and Super Turrican and stuff like that. I mean, and who is also having a big role in German software industry right now, or games industry. I don't know if anyone ever heard his name outside of this small bubble that we have here. And it would be nice to really put some names more prominent on the covers. Also, when I worked at Amiga Joker or in my whole editorial career, I was not, in most cases, I was not even allowed to talk to coders or producers or something like that. The PR guys just said, okay, you are talking to me. You have to talk to me. You are not allowed to contact anyone from the team. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can understand it because you need to keep the workflow going. But if I wanted to do an interview or stuff like that, it was always only the PR guy I was allowed, or at most times I was only allowed to talk to the PR people, but very seldomly to actually someone who was involved in coding a game or designing a game. And I always found that a little bit, well, unfortunately, and I think it would be nice to really build up some kind of pop stars within the software industry. We do not have enough real human stars in the whole games industry.
I mean, does anybody know who started SAP up? Do you know the name? You may, but I mean, I don't. But I mean, that's one of the biggest software companies in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Jeff Bezos and you know Elon Musk and you name it. And I'm not saying that we should copy it, but I think it has been holding the German industry back in some ways, entertainment industry in general, and other parts is as well, high tech. So I don't know. I mean, here you have Richard Gere and Chris Roberts, and I don't know. I mean, they're like people are falling on their feet and taking a knee. And I mean, most of them are really cool. So some of them are not so cool. I don't know. It's just a topic that rarely gets talked about. That with all this, and it needs shows and events like this that we are attending here right now to kind of pull all that out to make sense of it, right? To understand who was who and what did he or she do. And so in that respect, I really enjoy doing this, because maybe some things will become clearer for future generations. And I know you guys have big plans with the museum and everything. So good luck to you and everything. I hope that virus goes away pretty soon, so you can have a revenue again. But yeah, I mean it's
You have this now also, I'm just thinking, in the indie scene. If you look at the guy, now of course I should remember the name, but I don't, but the guy who did Fez, or these indie developers from the US are very prominently featured with their names usually, right? Mm-hmm. And we are still at this point where with German productions, maybe it's not so clear, to bring the names out, although it's a bit better now, I think, because of the indie scene, indie development.
You know one single indie developer from Germany by name? One single?
Well, I know you.
Well, yeah.
I think I know the person who did. You see, now, of course, because I'm online, I can't remember anything. But there's the guy who did Metal Warrior for the C64. I think that his name is known in the indie scene. Yeah. But I don't think they are that popular and prominently featured as this guy who did Fez and the guy who did Axiom Verge, and even the guy, those names that are associated with these games, when they're from the US, they are usually much more well known. Mm-hmm. It's now my problem that I can't remember any one of them, but it come to me later tonight probably.
It's a media thing, really. As I did like 3,000 reviews for tonline.de, I was never really asked to do an interview with a coder or a designer, except if it was Sid Meier. It's just that the media just wanted to have the big names. They wanted not to build up big names, but you
have to build it up, exactly.
Yeah, you have to build it up, exactly, and that's what I was not allowed to do. Right. And we sometimes tried to do that. In Joker magazine, I sometimes tried to do that in the magazines I founded in the 2000s, like the 360 Live magazine. But you really you need the media to support building up stars, and that's I don't know exactly the reasons, but I do know it just does not happen. It did not happen with T-Online, which is or used to be one of the biggest media outlets covering computer games. And I don't know about other media outlets, but I was just simply not allowed to do it. And so it did not happen.
It would have to start within the company that is releasing the publisher. because if the guy or girl is really that good, then that person can take another job after they finish this one and get twice the money anyways. You don't need to put the name out there. But companies are worried that they're going to lose talent, number one, if they become too famous. Really? And number two is that, I'm an engineer first and foremost, so I'm applying this to myself. Sometimes people that think like engineers put their foot in their mouth, and usually they're very honest, right? So when you, Richard, go and say, hey, so did you have any problems developing the game? The engineer is going to tell you all the problems they have and all the bugs that are still in there, and they can't find them. And it's just the nature of the beast, and I think they're trying to really limit that to only let the the corporate message out. And I always laugh when I look at I don't know, I've been to one trade show or another, and I think it was Quake or Wolfenstein or something. I don't know what it was, a huge hit, and the guy stood there on the podium and said, "Oh yeah, we knew it was going to be a success before we even wrote the first line of code." Bullshit. You don't, right? So, but there's this corporate thinking, and then when it works, it just gets overdone. Oh yeah, we knew all this, and we had a plan. And can I talk to the programmer? No, he's not here right now because he might tell you a different story. So
yeah, it's all about control, really. The PR and the marketing guys try to take control, and they want to know they want to really know how your story is progressing, which story is going to be published. And that's one of the reasons why I actually left the whole editorial scene, because it became too controlled by the software industry. I remember a time when I got the review copy of some soccer game, which was not from Electronic Arts but from another big publisher, Japanese one, and I was given a handbook on how to review the game, on which screenshots I was allowed to take, which football club has to be in front, and which football club I'm not allowed to take screenshots. And that was one of the reasons. That was really a milestone for me. I really felt like they are not taking us seriously as a magazine or as a journalist. They just want us to fulfill what they want to see published in the media. And that's when I decided to stop the whole thing. And I wished I could have done, I would have had more freedom. Also, in Germany, I always felt like, Germany was big and probably big in the software, in the games industry in the 90s, in the early 90s, in the big days of Amiga and stuff like that. But it felt, it lost its position like in 94, 95 or something. And then what happened. There are almost no big developers left.
Well, there never was a German Ubisoft, right? I mean, that's basically if you can nail it down to one definition, then there has never been a German Ubisoft. There were a couple of British Ubisofts before Ubisoft, US Gold and I don't know, but there never was. So I don't know. And I also found that the publishers amongst ourselves were very mistrusting of everything and everybody, and keeping secrets, and slightly different over here, where people share a lot more of the technology, at least on the engineer level. The suits are not talking to each other either, or if they do, they're lying to each other just to distract the competition. But there was a deeply seated, it's mine, like the Spießbürgerlich. I don't know how to translate that. It's a typical German thing. It's like, it's mine and I'm not going to give it to anybody. But we have to publish it. No. And is the copy protection good enough? And spend some hours and hours and hours discussing copy protection with external developers, and they said, look, we're not going to spend thousands and thousands of Deutsche Marks for the copy protection, because ultimately the better your game is, the faster it's going to be cracked, which is a good thing, because we're still going to sell games. And but it's like this, I'm not letting go. which kind of held, I think, the German industry as a whole back in those days. And then, yeah, time was up. They started with the IPOs, 96, 97. I don't know when that started. 97 probably. When all of a sudden it was on vogue to go to the go public, do an IPO, go to the stock market, and there just wasn't the know-how there. And I remember having a really hard time finding a CFO for Blue Byte because we had an IPO planned. Here in the States, I could have gone anywhere, and people from really high-end colleges would have jumped at the opportunity to join a company like Blue Byte with a portfolio and to take their company public. It took forever to find a CFO, and he was a good guy, but he didn't know anything about games. He, and it was a hard thing to convince him because they all asked, "What do you do here?" Computer game development. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think I have a better offer someplace else. So it was difficult to find, and that again with the mindset. It's like I think some things could have been different if the public had been a little bit more open towards the computer games industry at the time.
Yeah.
After all, computer games are the hardest discipline in all of computing. You have everything in there. You have AI, you have 3D graphics, you have the back end, you have thousands, millions of players that you need to manage nowadays. And it's the hardest discipline of all. Why we got so little respect back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not just games, but all entertainment, because German movies are also not that internationally, I would say, successful, right? So maybe it's the whole entertainment industry, not just games, that is a bit lacking in Germany.
But movies do get they get back up by politicians. They get a lot of money from like official money, and this has just changed since 4 or 5 or 6 years or something. Now we have politicians claiming, hey, I do like computer games, I do play computer games, and I do show up at the Gamescom show. And for maybe 2 years, they now promise to support the German software industry or games industry by financing developers. Well, they do promise. As far as I know, they're still lacking to actually give the money out, but it should happen now. I think there was an official announcement yesterday that there is a second round of support for games for the German games industry. So things are changing very, very slowly. What also has changed a lot is the openness between developers. I think nowadays we took over this like open approach towards communication between game developers in Germany. We have lots of co-working spaces where we have developers meeting like every month and discussing ideas, sharing ideas, maybe sharing resources. And this has changed a lot, but I think nowadays it's very hard to you have to get the money, and you also have to get the financial know-how in order to have a big to be able to go from a small indie team which just can survive because most guys live at home with their parents. In order to grow such a company, there are only very few indie companies which really get bigger by just producing games which are successful and sell enough units in order to really get profit and in order to grow in a natural way. And but we have a few examples, like the Mimimi team in Munich, for example, which are, I mean, like 10 years ago, they were, I don't know, maybe 3 students or something. And now they are selling games worldwide and getting recognized by international media. And this is, well, as far as I know, they got a bit of financial support from official channels, but it's basically what they did it on their own. But now we get, if we get more support from the politics, and if we get more support from official channels which spend a bit of money to support teams, then yeah, the German games industry might look different in 5 years. Also, when stuff like the games from the Ubisoft team in Berlin, show up and gets talked about. Hey, we do big stuff here in Germany. Then it should improve the whole situation. Yeah.
Well, at least I want to say something about times back then. When I went in the games industry, it was about 1990 to 1993, roundabout. And this was also the companies I worked for. They were not as what can I say? I was working for Starbite, for example, and they were known about how they pay their freelancers. I was at Magic Bytes before. They were known how they paid the freelancers.
Yeah.
And some other companies which are similar. This was the one part, and I always thought back then that the games industry was kind of split. There were good companies and there were bad companies. Some of the good companies, Blue Byte was known as good company, and so was Ascon or Ascaron, or Italian also. But many others weren't, and I remember how many super creative people left the industry because of that. And the other thing I remember of is that the German games industry seemed, for me, from my perspective, just to rely on hypes. They didn't work on their own market in a way. When I left the industry, I was involved in some other projects, and then commercial app games were a big thing. Mm-hmm. Then web games were a big thing. Then some business type stuff was a big thing, and that was nothing which lasts. It was over after a few years, and everybody was still complaining how bad the situation is. And I don't know. I think that there was something missing in the industry, something to build up a constant basis.
Which
for
games?
Decades.
Which games did you work on for Magic Bytes?
The Second World, and I did Mindbender C64 for Gremlin Graphics, which was produced at Magic Bytes.
Uh-huh.
And then I moved over to Starbite, which was right after their hype year with Rings of Medusa and Transworld and stuff. And I worked on Transworld and Invest and
Picture.
Yeah, 2 of the games I was involved. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
And then things got worse somehow, and then this crisis with Attic started, and it was quite difficult, and it was a good thing that I moved on after that, because I had some projects with first with Talion, which was a small project called Neuronix, and then I was involved later on in some stuff with Eclipse. But it was also the time when PC grew stronger, and consoles started becoming a thing. And I'm not sure. I usually have I personally think that many things went wrong that time, and for some reason I think what happened till Finemedia, it still was going on, and I personally think that's never happened. That something, as I said, that something was built on their own. I think Blue Byte could have happened, but then Ubisoft came.
Well, I don't know if you remember or know this, but Phenomedia tried to buy me out.
Oh.
Yeah. After their IPO, they came to me and made an offer that I couldn't refuse, but I didn't. I refused it anyways, because theoretically I would have never have to work again. But as it turned out, their books were cooked. I didn't like. There was one guy I didn't like back from the Starbite days, so no, we didn't do that. We actually had a conference. I actually called everybody into the conference room and said, "Okay, here's the offer. We would basically do the software development for Phenomedia because that wasn't their strong suit. They had the Mohun, but they also had they had a listing. They were at the stock market, and I was still catching up and spending thousands and hundreds of thousands of Deutsche Marks to get the prospectus ready. So in some way it would have made sense, but the people were not simpatico. There wasn't a good chemistry. So, and actually, as a matter of fact, that was the kickoff for our own IPO, where we said, okay, look, we're going to do this ourselves. And but yeah, being first, a lot of times, that's all you have to be, even if your product is only marginal. But being first, being best almost every time.
Okay, I want to throw something in the room. We could switch to a German, maybe, or whatever people prefer, because there's no English guest anymore.
My family is probably waiting for me for dinner.
So me too. I have to. Okay. I mean, I have to leave, unfortunately. May I say that I'm really very thankful that I got the invitation to join you guys. And it was a pleasure to talk to or listen to Thomas Herzler, a guy who is behind so many of the
Diese Sitzung wird aufgenommen.
Warte mal bitte, wie wir reinkommen. Es ist leer. Der ganze Raum ist leer.
Ich warte.
Was?
Ich warte.
Ich verstehe dich nicht, bitte was?
Ich warte, ich bin...
Ah, jetzt sind wir wieder drin. What happened? Ah, im Warteraum. Alle zulassen.
Super.
Sorry, there was a little breakdown here in the net, I think.
Ja, alle weg.
Yeah.
Oh, the guests are gone.
Oh, that's not good. Who had stopped the net? I don't know.
Da wir alle rausgeflogen sind, wird es irgendwas machen.
Hello, Stammtisch.
Ja, Zoom muss kollabiert sein demnach.
Ja,
weil wir hatten hier kein Netzproblem. Zoom hat sich abgeschaltet. Wahrscheinlich darf man nicht länger als so und so viele Stunden reden, oder was?
Jetzt sind die Gäste weg.
Kriegen wir denn den Thomas Herzler?
Moment, ich hole ihn nochmal rein.
Mhm.
Jetzt hat er kein Mikro an. Das ist ja gut. 3 Minuten vor Schluss bricht hier die Leitung zusammen. Ja. Die ist nicht bei uns zusammengebrochen.
Hello.
Thomas, Zoom did a cut. I don't know why. Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to really, basically what Richard said there. Really appreciate It didn't want to leave it like that. So maybe it was just a temporary glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, of course. Thanks again. If you want, you can revisit us tomorrow. We did the same thing again. Would be great to hear from you again. It was a great pleasure to have all you here.
But the shortcomings that we talked about, shows like this and organizations like yours, a lot of things went bad and wrong in the past. We all make mistakes, but you can maybe, set this right, or at least on a historical level, looking back, and so that the next generation can learn from our mistakes, because we rarely talk about our mistakes. We always, talk about our successes and how great this was. And like I said, I knew that Settlers was a success the moment I laid eyes on it, which, is of course bullshit. I ended up in hospital. I was so worried. I thought I had a heart attack before Settlers was launched. It was really bad to my health. But, we can only learn from past mistakes. And, if the next generation is clever enough to learn from our mistakes, then they don't have to make those. They make other mistakes. So, but I really want to say thanks very much for having me. And, maybe I'll join you tomorrow. I have to check I'll let you know, Patrick, okay?
Okay, no problem. It's the same account. You can join whenever you want. It's no problem. Thanks again for joining us. Vielen Dank.
Alrighty. Guys, great job. Thank you.
Hope to see you again.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
So, ich gehe dann mal aufs Deutsche jetzt, wo wir hier unter uns sind. Ich würde sagen, wir machen hier jetzt noch die letzte Viertelstunde und gehen dann in unsere wohlverdiente Nachtruhe. Außer ihr möchtet noch eine längere Aftershow machen. Wir haben ja auch noch den morgigen Tag. Also ich denke mal, das müssen wir jetzt gucken, aber wir können hier gerne noch mal so ein bisschen das Revue passieren lassen. Und dann müssen wir gucken. Also wenn noch viel Redebedarf ist, können wir gerne noch mal auf Twitch wechseln hinterher. Wir haben jetzt hier noch circa eine Viertelstunde, aber wir können auch gerne noch wechseln. Das müsst ihr entscheiden. Also ich bin erstmal geplättet, was hier passiert ist. Nein, müssen wir um Gottes Willen nicht. Ich bin auch geplättet, was hier passiert ist. Ein Sorry schon mal an Oliver, auch gerne hier öffentlich, dass wir dich vorhin nicht gleich mit reingenommen haben. Ich habe ja auch irgendwann so ein bisschen den Überblick verloren, ehrlich gesagt, weil alle wollten ab 22 Uhr sprechen und hatten nachher Termine und sind dann auch vorher reingekommen und dadurch wurde es dann hier natürlich recht voll. Also wir machen morgen...
Ja, es hat sich halt eine Themenverschiebung gegeben und das Thema, wo ich halt hätte was sagen können, das war vorbei, als ich dazu kam.
Richtig, das lag aber daran, dass auch viele früher da waren, als sie wollten und schon immer mich dann im Chat auch gefragt haben, wann sie reinkommen. Also sorry, wir machen morgen mit Sicherheit nochmal grundlegende Gespräche über viele Dinge und haben ja auch morgen noch sehr viele spannende Gäste. Aber vielen Dank erstmal auch an das Team, dass ihr so toll mitgearbeitet habt. Wir sind hier teilweise echt auf und ab gelaufen. Bei Robin hat man es ja sogar gesehen im Video, was hier passiert ist. Vielen Dank an euch nochmal, dass das alles so gut geklappt hat. Und jetzt können wir gucken, ob wir nochmal ein bisschen was Revue passieren lassen, uns noch irgendwo festquatschen, nur daran denken, dass wir kurz vor 2 dann auf Twitch wechseln müssen.
Ja, wie fandet ihr es? Ich kann es immer schwer beurteilen. Ich bin auch so leise.
Ja, alles gut.
Also ich fand's absolut genial. Also da waren ja wirklich so viele Legenden dabei, die jetzt mal auch live zu hören. Ich hatte, ich glaube, die ganze Zeit ein Dauergrinsen auf dem Mund. Ja, das war wirklich...
ich auch. Mein Handy stand nicht still. Wir haben diverse Glückwünsche bekommen für eine großartige Sendung. Vielen Dank auch an die Zuschauer, die mir schon geschrieben haben. Alle, die dabei waren, auch David Fox hat eben nochmal geschrieben, dass er sich geehrt fühlte, bei uns zu sein. Wir fühlten uns geehrt, dass er bei uns war. Das war großartig und es kommen hier im Minutentakt Mails bei mir an. Also vielen Dank an alle, die auch hier zugeschaut haben. Und nochmal der Hinweis, wie gesagt, wir packen das mit Sicherheit auf YouTube, das Video.
Wenn es denn heil ist.
Bitte was?
Wenn es denn heil ist.
Wir haben mehrere Backups laufen, dürfte kein Problem sein. Guckt euch das da gerne nochmal an, abonniert uns da. Ich habe schon so Sachen im Hinterkopf, die verrate ich jetzt noch nicht. Ich habe da so eine Idee, aber das erzähle ich erst nächste Woche. Es ist Wahnsinn, was hier passiert ist, wenn man gesehen hat, was hier für Geschichten waren. Ich kann das erst verstehen, wenn ich mir das Ganze nochmal in Ruhe anschaue. Ich denke, den meisten geht es genauso. Ich habe gesehen, einige von euch hatten fast Tränen in den Augen und ich fand es großartig. Vielen Dank für eure Hilfe erstmal. Und wenn wir jetzt noch Themen haben, kann es gerne weitergehen. Ansonsten grinsen wir wahrscheinlich die ganze Nacht weiter.
Vor allem spannend fand ich, es hat sich ja so eine gewisse Eigendynamik irgendwann mal entwickelt. Das musste ja dann nichts mehr moderiert werden. Ja.
Ein Glück, dass das irgendwann mal passiert war. Ich habe am Anfang gedacht, oh mein Gott, jetzt müssen wir anschieben. Nein, das passierte. Und dann, hi, wie geht's du denn? Ich habe dich schon lange nicht mehr gesehen. Geil.
Ja, wir hätten wirklich weggehen können.
Ja, das einzige Schwierige war halt, dass alle gerne am Anfang drankommen wollten. Und ich hatte mit einmal 15 Leute, die reden wollten. Und das geht natürlich logistisch nicht. Auch durch die Zeitverschiebung hatte jeder natürlich einen anderen Grund, weshalb er dran sein wollte. Und wir haben versucht, es jedem recht zu machen. Und natürlich klappt es nicht immer. Und,
ja, also alle waren halt natürlich nicht gleichmäßig oft dran. Es gab halt schon einige Personen, die halt ein bisschen im Hintertreff gehabt.
Wir haben es versucht und ich bedanke mich auch nochmal bei Ralf wieder Klein, das war auch der Hammer, dass auch so viele Fragen aus dem Chat kamen, fand ich sehr schön. Das war auch total spannend, mal in seinem Büro wieder reinzuschauen.
Ist da sehr hinterher. Der hat jetzt noch eine Frage offen, die will er morgen nochmal stellen.
Okay, also ich habe schon eine Nachricht bekommen von Ralf, wo drin stand, bis nachher, bis gleich, bis morgen. Also das geht noch in die nächste Runde, ist doch cool.
Einer unserer treuesten Zuschauer, Prinz Valium, den kennen wir schon von Twitch. Ich fand es auch episch. Am Anfang war es ein bisschen stressig, ne, Patrick, was du auch gesagt hast. Ich war voll und ganz nur damit beschäftigt, die hinzuhalten, die zu begrüßen, die an neu zu kommen, weil die kamen teilweise, dann kamen 3 Leute in 2 Minuten und so schnell konnte ich denen nicht schreiben.
Ich musste teilweise hier in den Teilnehmerlisten scrollen, weil ich nicht mehr wusste, wer wo war. Wir machen morgen jetzt nochmal ein Vorgespräch, das müssen wir jetzt nicht hier öffentlich diskutieren, dass wir noch ein bisschen Struktur reinbringen, aber für diesen ersten Versuch, das gab es ja in der Form, glaube ich, fast noch nie in dieser Form. Dafür haben wir das wirklich ordentlich hingekriegt. Vielen, vielen Dank, wie gesagt, für die Hilfe im Hintergrund. Ich wäre hier wahrscheinlich irgendwann nur noch auf und ab gelaufen, hat eine Wand gerammt, keine Ahnung. Robin ist, glaube ich, hier eine halbe Stunde nervös durch den Raum gelaufen.
Halbe Stunde?
Ich wollte jetzt nicht 5 Stunden sagen. Er hat ja zum Glück
Robin, wie viel Kalorien hast du verbraucht?
Ich habe das alles an Schokokuchen wieder aufgegessen, was an Patricks Frau mit reingebracht hat.
Also das fand ich auch ganz toll, wie Robin da dann immer mit der Kamera interveniert hat, dass auch andere Leute mal sprechen konnten. Das war echt super, das hat genau gepasst. Weil wenn wir hier als Gast einen Programmierer haben und der sieht sein eigenes Spiel, die Packung, dann
die hat
wird er natürlich dazu was
auch
sagen und das ist ja dann auch passiert. Das war eigentlich eine super Idee. Ich fand's toll.
Deswegen habe ich vorher dich hier rausgesucht.
Auch eine geniale Idee, das einfach zu zeigen, die Sachen so, an denen die ganzen Menschen beteiligt waren. Es war wirklich eine Ehre, finde ich, hier dabei zu sein und diesen Leuten zuzuhören.
Und das war erst die erste Runde. Es geht morgen noch mal weiter. Wir können ja schon mal ein paar Snippets sagen, was morgen noch passiert. Ich kann ja noch mal hier in unsere Liste gucken. Also wenn alles gut, also erstmal versuche ich natürlich noch mal Rebecca anzuschreiben. Ich habe sie nicht mehr erreicht mit der Sendung. Sie wollte ja eigentlich um kurz nach 10 dabei sein. Aber morgen haben wir wahrscheinlich John Heer. Wir haben das gesamte Factor 5 Team da. Und wir haben nochmal Richard Löwenstein da, Frank Matzke willkommen, Bernd Lehan, Oliver wird mit Sicherheit auch nochmal dabei sein. Also morgen haben wir etwas weniger Leute. Und Bernhard Evers kommt nochmal, Rolf wieder Klein kommt nochmal. Also da kriegen wir sicherlich nochmal spannende Infos.
Bis auf John Heer und eventuell Rebecca Heinemann sind es dann alle Deutsche.
Das ist richtig.
Er muss einfach Deutsch sprechen, das macht er als Engländer bestimmt richtig gerne.
Ich versuche auch noch, wie gesagt, 1, 2 weitere dazu zu bekommen, wo ich noch nichts klären konnte. Aber lassen wir uns überraschen, was passiert. Ich weiß es selbst nicht und ich bin sehr begeistert, dass heute 90% der Gäste auch von selbst in den Warteraum gekommen sind. Also vielen, vielen Dank auch an alle Gäste, die es jetzt nochmal hören. Das war wirklich eine tolle Aktion.
Was die Gäste auch zum Teil, was die Gäste zum Teil auch nicht wussten, ist, wer überhaupt kommt, ne? Weil Chris Hülsbeck...
das ist nicht ganz richtig, Marcel. Ich habe auch Chris und allen anderen eine komplette Time-Schedule-Liste geschickt. Aber die meisten haben ja auch nicht gelesen, wo der Zoom-Link ist. Also,
okay, vielleicht überlesen, weil der Chris war auf jeden Fall angenehm überrascht. Ach, guck mal, die kenne ich doch, hat er mir geschrieben.
Ja, absolut.
Das war ein wirklich emotionaler Moment mit dem Chris Hülsbeck für mich. Weil,
hatte er gedacht, er kommt hier alleine rein oder dann ist ja...
Nein, er wusste auch, dass er morgen mit Factor 5 zusammen da ist und eigentlich war es bekannt. Aber wie gesagt, man liest ja auch nicht immer alles, wenn man gerade ganz viele Termine hat und von Sendung zu Sendung switcht sozusagen.
Ich hatte zwischendurch Angst, dass Miches hier zu viel schreit und miaut, aber sie war auch ganz ruhig, zum Glück.
Du hattest nicht als Einziger eine Katze. Ich habe zwischendurch gesehen, dass bei Simon immer eine Katze durchs Bild fliegt. Leider war das, glaube ich, nicht live.
Ich glaube, meiner hat sich schlafen gelegt.
Hatte sich. Also ihr hattet alle euren Spaß, wie ich euch an euren Lächeln ansehe.
Es war
ich muss auch sagen,
es war
Lukas Arzt,
also gefühlt wie ein Schulkind.
Ja, Lukas Arzt, also es war ja fast also die wichtigsten Persönlichkeiten von Lukas Arzt da, außer vielleicht noch George Lucas.
Ron Gilbert hätte noch gefehlt, aber...
Ja. Mr. Schäfer, also da gab es noch ein paar mehr. Also das,
aber trotzdem.
Das ist aber auch genau wie die gleiche Nummer, wenn irgendjemand meint, so von wegen, dass alle gute Musik aus Deutschland nur von Chris Hülsbeck kam. Also das ist...
Nö.
Lass mir doch die Illusion.
Genau.
Ja.
Ich fand's trotzdem toll. Vor allem, die haben ja noch so, gerade auch mit dem Zack McCracken T-Shirt, ich fand das ja sowas von kultig.
Ich musste ja noch schnell den Zack McCracken aus der Glasvitrine rausholen, weil ich hatte nur das Manic Mansion ausgepackt und dann poppt das Bild auf von ihm und ich denke, ach verdammt, ich muss schnell noch in die Vitrine.
Und auch die
Vor allem habt ihr gesehen,
die Hintergründe
David
waren
Fox dauernd die Hintergründe geändert hat. Der hat ja dauernd immer rumgespielt, ja, so richtig richtig nerdig, ja, dauernd immer die Hintergründe angepasst, mal das probiert und
das waren auch richtig nerdige Hintergründe.
Ja.
Ja, Rolf in seinem Labor.
Einfach herrlich. Einfach herrlich, das Labor. War so neidisch.
Ich habe dann nachgefragt, wie das Labor ausschaut.
Also ich wäre da auch gerne mal reingegangen und hätte mal geguckt, was da alles drin steht, weil das war super interessant. Und der Danny hat schon direkt große Augen bekommen und
Ja, das war ein ganz großartiger Abend. Es war ein ganz großartiger Abend und auch was ich am meisten genossen habe, war, als sich die Menschen, die das Genre Adventure quasi für uns erfunden haben, dann total verstrickt haben mit Text-Adventure und Grafik und das war toll.
Dass sie sich trotzdem alle irgendwie kennen. Ne? Also irgendwie scheinen die in den 80er Jahren in den Messen sich...
Die haben gegenseitig ihre Spiele gespielt.
Das ist aber auch irgendwie ungewöhnlich. Also ich weiß jetzt nicht genau, bei den deutschen Entwicklern habe ich immer das Gefühl, dass das erst so richtig in den 90ern losging, dass die sich untereinander kennengelernt haben. Weil damals, als ich dabei war, das war noch so eine Phase, wo man das Gefühl hatte, so da ist jede Firma eine Insel. Und bei den amerikanischen, das ist irgendwie interessant, fand ich, weil da zum Beispiel die Demoszene, die ist total inselmäßig entstanden. Da waren immer irgendwelche Grafiker, die so für sich selber irgendwas gemacht haben und dann so ähnlich wie bei Shareware haben da irgendwelche Leute was gesammelt, aber die hatten überhaupt keinen Kontakt zueinander. Aber die Entwickler interessanterweise schon.
Ganz kurz, bevor wir jetzt hier Schluss machen mit dem ersten Teil, Oliver, was hast du für ein tolles Bild im Hintergrund?
Das habe ich mal 2010 gepixelt. Das gibt es noch mit Kämpfern da vorne vor. Das war der Hintergrund für 25 Years of Ya Kung Fu.
Cool. Ja, sieht toll aus.
Das ist spielen.
Es wird ein Abo. Ein Hintergrund24.de Abo für Ingo. Wäre doch eine Möglichkeit.
Und die Bilder werden rollierend abgekassiert.
Pixelgenau abgerechnet. Pixelgenau.
Und wenn Sie jetzt bestellen, bekommen Sie noch die Farben dazu.
Genau. Dann gibt es halt dann irgendwie so EGA-Abos und CGA-Abos und
Bernstein, Monochrom.
Monochrom-Abos.
Also liebe Zuhörer, falls ihr uns jetzt hier vollkommen entspannt, schon fast überentspannt seht, das ist wahrscheinlich geschuldet der Situation, dass wir uns vorher sehr viel Mühe damit gemacht haben, dass das für euch eine total tolle Erfahrung wird. Ich hoffe, die Englischsprachigen werden ja schon gegangen sein. Ich hoffe, das war für euch keine in Tödelchen Belastung, dass wir es in Englisch gemacht haben. Ich fand das total lustig, dass es von selbst so gekommen ist, dass wir irgendwann dann doch alle immer noch weiter Englisch gesprochen haben.
Vor allem, als die englischen Gäste schon weg waren.
Ja, aber es hat natürlich den Vorteil, dass das auch noch, das kann man auch noch Engländern zeigen, weil wir reden ja über eine deutsche Szene, die für Engländer vielleicht komplett außen vor ist, weil sie nicht in Englisch geschehen ist.
Ja.
Ja,
Mal gucken.
das denke
Wie
ich
gesagt,
mir
das
auch.
stimmt.
Das könnte dazu helfen, dass das auch englischsprachige Leute mal darüber hören, was da so passiert ist.
ja, wir könnten ja auch mal englischsprachige Leute hier in den Stammtisch einladen. Das geht ja auch.
Wie gesagt,
also wenn er jetzt mal kommen will. Ja.
Vielleicht sollten wir noch kurz die letzten Minuten hier auf dem Kanal dafür nutzen, nochmal zu sagen, was wir da eigentlich machen an Stammtischen. Wer mag das nochmal kurz zusammenfassen, was donnerstags und freitags bei uns los ist?
Ja,
Das,
jeden
was eben-
Donnerstag.
Ja, nee, erzähl
Genau. Das, was jeden Donnerstagabend passiert, ist, wir treffen uns gemeinsam. Wir suchen uns vorher ein Spiel aus, auf das wir irgendwie Lust haben. Das wird vorher in einem offenen Voting entschieden. System eigentlich irrelevant, also wir spielen da alles, Commodore C64, Amiga, Konsolenspiele, natürlich alles retrobezogen, jetzt nicht irgendwie das Neueste auf der Switch oder das Neueste auf der PlayStation 4. Da kann jeder frei mitmachen. Also wir würden uns auch gerne über neue Gesichter freuen. Informationen dazu, wie ihr daran teilnehmen könnt, findet ihr auf www.retrocompot.de. Und dazu haben wir auch jeden Freitag eine offene Talkrunde über Teamspeak. Da kann auch jeder mitmachen. Die Informationen findet ihr auch unter www.retrocompot.de. Und ja, kommt einfach mal vorbei, schaltet euch rein, hört einfach erstmal nur zu, wenn ihr vielleicht ein bisschen schüchtern seid oder nicht da sofort irgendwie mit einsteigen wollt. Wir beißen nicht, wir freuen uns über jeden Neuen, der Bock drauf hat, einfach mal über die guten alten Spiele zu reden. Auch gerne beim Stammtisch, dann am Freitag auch gerne mal über neuere Sachen. Da haben wir auch schon etwas länger über zum Beispiel The Last of Us 2 geredet. Ja, und wir sind offen für alles, kommt vorbei, schaut es euch an, wir beißen nicht.
Ja, dann würde ich sagen, ja bitte.
Wer nämlich auch dann wissen möchte, was es mit Abus und Ingo auf sich hat, der sollte auf jeden Fall beim Stammtisch mal teilnehmen. Wir können das ja gerne nochmal ansprechen, ne Ingo?
Ja.
Ja, natürlich, gerne. So, wir müssen jetzt, glaube ich, Schluss machen, oder?
Ja, ich würde vorschlagen, wir machen jetzt hier Schluss, weil um 2 Uhr ist der Stream ja zu Ende. Wir gehen jetzt nochmal auf Twitch gerne, wenn ihr wollt. Können wir da noch ein bisschen quatschen. Wir lassen den Stream hier weiter laufen auf Twitch. Infos seht ihr auch hier auf der Ecke, da findet ihr uns unter retro-kompott. Wir bedanken uns bei der Gamescom, wir bedanken uns bei allen, die hier zugeschaut haben auf dem Kanal. Machen noch ein bisschen Aftershow und sehen uns morgen ab 22 Uhr an gleicher Stelle wieder und gucken mal, was wir dann hinbekommen. Vielen, vielen Dank an euch. Danke an alle, die zugeschaut und zugehört haben. Und wir switchen dann gleich mal um. Vielen Dank an euch alle hier.
Okay, tschüss erstmal.
Tschüss.
Ja. Tschüss.